Ethan noticed the message at the worst possible time when everything in his life had finally started to feel calm. It was late, close to midnight. And the house was quiet except for the soft hum of the ceiling fan. Leela was already asleep beside him, her breathing slow and steady, one hand resting lightly near his arm. Ethan had just picked up his phone to set an alarm when the notification appeared. It was quick, almost easy to ignore. But the name on it made him pause. Daniel. Ethan frowned slightly. It wasn't strange for Daniel to message him, but this message wasn't sent to him. It was sent to Leela. That alone felt odd. Daniel and Leela got along well, but they weren't the kind of friends who talked privately, at least not often. Ethan hesitated, then tapped the screen without thinking too much. The message opened. "We need to tell him soon." Ethan stared at the words, waiting for them to make sense, but they didn't. His first reaction wasn't anger. It was confusion. His mind tried to fill in the blanks, searching for a reasonable explanation. Maybe it was about a surprise, maybe something harmless. But even as he thought that, something about the message didn't feel light or playful. It felt serious. He scrolled up. There were more messages. Not many, but enough. "Are you sure we should wait? I don't want to hurt him. We just need the right moment." Ethan's chest tightened. Each line felt heavier than the last. The words weren't clear, but the tone was. It was careful, secretive, the kind of conversation people have when they're hiding something. He slowly locked the phone and set it down. For a moment, he didn't move. Then he turned his head slightly and looked at Leela. She looked peaceful, completely unaware of what he had just seen. The soft glow of the lamp touched her face, and for a second, everything felt normal again. This was the woman he trusted more than anyone, the woman he had built his life with, the woman who had never given him a reason to doubt her. So why did that message feel like a crack in everything? Ethan lay back, staring at the ceiling. His thoughts started moving faster, jumping from one idea to another. He told himself not to overthink. There had to be a simple explanation. There always was, but the words wouldn't leave his mind. "We need to tell him soon." Tell him what? He swallowed, his throat dry. He thought about waking Leela, asking her directly. It would be easy. One question, one answer, and this feeling would disappear. But something stopped him. Maybe it was the fear of what she might say. Or maybe it was the way the message sounded like something that wasn't meant to be discovered. Yet, Ethan closed his eyes, but sleep didn't come. Instead, memories started to surface. Moments that once felt ordinary now felt different under the weight of doubt. Leela smiling at her phone earlier that week. Daniel canceling plans last minute. A quiet conversation that stopped when Ethan entered the room. At the time, none of it had meant anything. But now, his mind connected them, building something darker. He opened his eyes again, his chest rising slowly. "No," he whispered to himself. "That's not real." He didn't want to believe it. But the thought had already taken root. Hours passed, but Ethan barely noticed. The night stretched on, heavy and silent. Every time he tried to push the thought away, it came back stronger. Not as a clear idea, but as a feeling something was wrong. By the time morning arrived, Ethan hadn't slept at all. Leela woke up first, stretching slightly before sitting up. She smiled when she saw him awake. "You're up early," she said. Softly. Ethan forced a small smile. "Yeah, couldn't sleep." She leaned over and kissed his cheek, a simple, familiar gesture. But this time, it felt different. Not fake, not forced, just uncertain. "Everything okay?" she asked. Ethan hesitated for a fraction of a second. Then he nodded. "Yeah, just work stuff." She didn't question it. She trusted him, just like he had always trusted her. That thought made something twist inside him. The morning went on as usual. Breakfast, coffee, small talk. Everything looked the same on the surface, but for Ethan, nothing felt the same anymore. He watched her more closely, not in an obvious way, but enough to notice things he might have ignored before. The way she checked her phone and quickly put it down. The way her expression changed for a brief moment before returning to normal. It could have meant nothing, or it could have meant everything. Ethan didn't know which one was worse. Later that day, he met Daniel. They had planned to catch up at a small cafe they often visited. It was something they did regularly, something that had never felt uncomfortable before. But today, it did not. Daniel greeted him with the same easy smile. "Hey, man," Ethan nodded. "Hey." They sat down, ordered coffee, and started talking. At least, Daniel did. Ethan listened, responding when needed, but his mind was somewhere else. He studied Daniel's face, looking for something, anything that might confirm his suspicion. But Daniel looked normal, relaxed, casual, the same as always. That almost made it worse. At one point, Daniel's phone buzzed on the table. He glanced at it quickly, then turned it face down. Ethan noticed. "Everything good?" Ethan asked. "Yeah," Daniel replied. "Just a message." From who? Ethan didn't ask. He didn't need to. The thought had already formed. The rest of the meeting passed quickly, but it felt longer than it was. Every word felt heavy. Every pause felt meaningful. When they finally stood up to leave, Daniel gave him a friendly pat on the shoulder. "Let's catch up again soon," he said. Ethan forced a small smile. "Yeah, sure." As he walked away, Ethan felt something inside him shift again. The confusion was still there. The doubt was still there. But now, something else had joined them. The quiet, growing sense of distance. By the time he got home, Ethan had made a decision. He wouldn't confront them. Not yet. He needed to understand what was happening first. Because if there really was a secret, if there really was a betrayal, then one question mattered more than anything else. How long had it been going on? That thought stayed with him as the day went on. It followed him through every moment, every interaction. Even when Leela spoke to him, even when she smiled, even when everything looked normal, the question remained. Ethan realized something then. Trust doesn't break all at once. It cracks slowly, quietly. And once that crack appears, it changes how you see everything. That night, as he lay beside Leela again, Ethan didn't check her phone. He didn't need to. The message was already burned into his mind. "We need to tell him soon." He stared into the darkness, his thoughts sharper now, more focused. Whatever they were hiding, he would find out. And when he did, he wouldn't be the same man who trusted them without question. Something inside him had already changed, and there was no going back.